The alert klaxon blared across the bridge of the UES Dauntless. Captain Eric Mason looked up from his coffee, his expression calm despite the sudden commotion. "Report," he ordered, setting down his mug and moving to the central command station. Lieutenant Natalie Wright's fingers flew across her console. "Sir, we're picking up an unknown object entering the solar system. It just appeared at the edge of Neptune's orbit. Nothing like it in our databases." The main screen displayed a fuzzy image of an elongated vessel with odd protrusions along its hull. It moved with a grace that defied its size, leaving a faint blue energy trail behind it. "Magnify," Mason said, leaning forward. The image sharpened, revealing intricate patterns etched into the hull. "Definitely not one of ours." Admiral Peterson's face appeared on the communication screen. "Captain Mason, you're the closest ship to the anomaly. Earth Defense Command wants you to intercept and assess. Approach with caution. This could be first contact." "Understood, Admiral." "We're on our way," Mason replied, already calculating the encounter scenarios in his mind. "Helm, set course to intercept. Communications, prepare first contact protocols." The Dauntless's engines hummed as the warship changed course, accelerating toward the mysterious visitor. Earth had prepared for this moment for decades, but preparation and reality were vastly different beasts. "All stations, yellow alert. I want weapons hot but not targeted," Mason ordered. "Let's not start humanity's first alien encounter by pointing guns at them." The crew worked with quiet efficiency as the Dauntless closed the distance. Hours passed in tense silence, broken only by status reports and system checks. "We're within visual range, Captain," announced Wright. The alien ship loomed large on the view screen. Up close, its hull shimmered with an iridescent quality that suggested advanced materials beyond Earth's technology. The vessel was roughly twice the size of the Dauntless. "Open a channel. All frequencies. Universal greeting package ready," Mason said. Communications Officer Ben Harris nodded. "Channel open. Broadcasting now." Minutes ticked by with no response. Mason was about to order a second attempt when the alien vessel suddenly shifted position, orienting what appeared to be weapon ports toward the Dauntless. "Sir, they're powering up something." "Energy readings are spiking," reported Chief Engineer Kate Donovan from her station. Mason remained calm. "Hold position. They might just be scanning us or preparing their communications." A brilliant beam of energy burst from the alien ship, striking just off the Dauntless's port bow. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. "Sensor Array 3 is offline," Donovan called out. "That was a warning shot, sir. Precise enough to hit non-critical systems only." The bridge crew looked to Mason, hands hovering over their stations, awaiting orders. The captain's face was grim but controlled. "No return fire," he said firmly, "but raise shields and target their weapons array. Let them see we can defend ourselves." He turned to Harris. "Continue broadcasting the greeting package, but add a visual demonstration of defensive posturing followed by weapons lowering. Show them we understand the warning but prefer peace." The tension on the bridge was thick enough to cut with a knife as they waited for the alien response. After what seemed like an eternity, the alien vessel's weapon ports dimmed. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," Harris said, surprise evident in his voice. "It's like nothing I've ever seen, but the computer is attempting to translate." The view screen flickered, revealing a being with silvery skin and large, multifaceted eyes. When it spoke, the computer translated in a flat monotone. "Human vessel, you have entered territory claimed by the Arcturian Confederation. State your purpose or withdraw." Mason straightened his uniform and stepped forward. Humanity's first official words to an alien civilization would be his responsibility. "This is Captain Eric Mason of the United Earth vessel Dauntless. You have entered our solar system, not the other way around. We welcome peaceful contact, but we will defend our home." The first move in humanity's greatest chess game had been made. The glass-walled conference room aboard the neutral space station Alpha 7 hummed with tension. Ambassador Olivia Grant adjusted her collar and reviewed her notes one final time. After the tense first contact between the UES Dauntless and the Arcturian vessel, Earth's leaders had scrambled to organize proper diplomatic talks. "They're docking now, Ambassador," said her aide, Jack Porter, watching the external cameras. Olivia nodded. "Remember, we know almost nothing about their culture. Keep expressions neutral. Avoid sudden movements." The airlock hissed open. 3 Arcturians glided into the room, their silvery skin reflecting the overhead lights. The tallest one, apparently their leader, wore an ornate chest piece with swirling patterns. "I am First Emissary Zelix of the Arcturian Confederation," the alien announced through a translation device. "We will discuss your surrender terms." Olivia maintained her composure despite the shocking opener. "I am Ambassador Grant of United Earth. We're here to establish peaceful relations, not discuss surrender. This system has been humanity's home for our entire existence." The Arcturian's multifaceted eyes flickered. "Your claim is irrelevant. The Confederation has designated this system as Sector 947, a resource zone for our expansion. Your presence was unexpected, but does not alter our claim." Jack Porter shifted uncomfortably beside Olivia. She gave him a warning glance before responding. "Perhaps we can reach a compromise. Earth is willing to discuss trade agreements, cultural exchange." "There is nothing to discuss," interrupted Zelix. "Our surveys indicate valuable resources in your system. Your technological level is minimal compared to ours. The logical solution is your submission." Olivia tried a different approach. "Our scans of your ships suggest you've traveled far. We could offer resupply, a peaceful base of operations." The smallest Arcturian chittered something to Zelix, who responded sharply before turning back to Olivia. "Your attempt to delay is noted. The Confederation requires your answer within 1 rotation of your planet." The meeting continued for 3 tense hours. With each exchange, the cultural gap widened. The Arcturians viewed territory as absolute, either claimed or unclaimed. The concept of native rights meant nothing to them. When they finally adjourned, Olivia immediately contacted Earth Defense Command. "It's worse than we thought," she told Admiral Peterson over the secure channel. "They see us as primitives occupying valuable real estate. No recognition of our sovereignty whatsoever." Peterson's weathered face showed rare concern. "Can we negotiate at all?" "They don't negotiate with what they consider lesser species," Olivia replied. "Their technology is advanced, but Captain Mason's report suggests they underestimate us. They expect submission without resistance." "Then they don't know humans very well," Peterson said grimly. The next morning, the Arcturian delegation arrived with a formal document, a surrender demand requiring Earth to reduce its military presence and allow Arcturian mining operations throughout the solar system. Olivia reviewed it carefully before responding. "This is unacceptable. Earth cannot and will not surrender its sovereignty." Zelix's eyes narrowed. "Then you choose conflict. Unwise." He removed a crystal device from his chest piece and placed it on the table. "This contains our final position. Your species has 1 Earth week to accept terms." After the Arcturians departed, Earth's Security Council met in emergency session. The images from the diplomatic failure were broadcast worldwide. "They're preparing for military action," Peterson informed the council. "Our long-range sensors detect more ships entering the outer system." President Rivera stood at the head of the table. "Then we must prepare as well." Ambassador Grant made every possible peaceful overture. Olivia looked around at the grim faces. "There's something else you should know. When I mentioned Captain Mason's encounter, their body language changed. I think the Dauntless surprised them. They didn't expect us to have ships that could stand against them at all." "Then perhaps," said Defense Minister Patel, "our best chance lies not in numbers, but in showing them exactly what human warships can do." As the meeting adjourned, Earth began preparing for war while clinging to the fading hope of peace. The gas giant Jupiter loomed large on the view screen of the UES Dauntless. Captain Eric Mason stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching as 3 Arcturian warships approached from the planet's far side. "All hands to battle stations," he ordered, his voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. "This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill." Red alert lights bathed the bridge in their glow as crew members hurried to their positions. The 3 support vessels, UES Valiant, UES Guardian, and UES Sentinel, moved into formation around the Dauntless. "Sir, Arcturian vessels are on an intercept course," reported Lieutenant Wright. "Their weapons are hot." Mason nodded. "Open a channel." "Channel open," confirmed Officer Harris. "Arcturian vessels, this is Captain Mason of the UES Dauntless. You are in Earth-controlled space. We request you withdraw immediately." The only response was a barrage of energy weapons fire that lit up the void between them. The Dauntless rocked as its shields absorbed the initial impact. "Shields holding at 87%, called out Chief Engineer Donovan. "Their weapons are powerful, but not as precise as ours." Mason's mind raced through the tactics they had prepared. Execute Maneuver Omega. All ships, break formation. The 4 human vessels suddenly scattered in different directions, confusing the aliens' targeting systems. The Arcturians, expecting a standard defensive posture, hesitated. "Fire countermeasures and bring us around Jupiter's upper atmosphere," Mason ordered. "Lieutenant Ryan, prepare torpedo spread, pattern Delta." The Dauntless skimmed Jupiter's clouds, using the planet's radiation belts to mask its signature. The Arcturians followed, their larger ships struggling to match the human vessel's agility. "They're taking the bait," Mason said with grim satisfaction. Now, the Dauntless suddenly cut its engines and dropped deeper into Jupiter's gravity well. As the lead Arcturian ship passed overhead, the human vessel unleashed a precise torpedo spread that struck the aliens' underside, a vulnerable spot identified in their earlier encounter. "Direct hit," shouted Lieutenant Ryan. "Their shields are fluctuating." Meanwhile, the UES Guardian and Sentinel executed a pincer movement on the second Arcturian vessel, their coordinated fire overwhelming its defenses. The alien ship's port side erupted in a series of explosions. "Captain, the 3rd ship is targeting the Valiant," Wright reported urgently. "Intercept course," Mason responded without hesitation. "Full power to forward shields." The Dauntless roared between the Arcturian vessel and its target, absorbing a punishing barrage meant for the smaller Valiant. The bridge shook violently, panels sparking. "Shields at 41%, Donovan reported. "We can't take another hit like that." Mason's eyes narrowed. "We won't have to. All vessels, execute sunburst formation." The 4 human ships suddenly moved in perfect synchronization, creating a 3-dimensional attack pattern that the Arcturians couldn't track effectively. Despite the aliens' technological superiority, they had never encountered the unpredictable tactics developed through centuries of human warfare. "Their targeting systems can't handle our randomized approach," Wright observed. "They're trying to adjust, but..." "Now's our chance," Mason cut in. "All ships, concentrate fire on the lead vessel's propulsion systems." The combined firepower of the human fleet struck the Arcturian flagship precisely where its engines connected to the main hull. A blinding explosion tore through the alien ship, leaving it dead in space. Seeing their lead vessel crippled, the remaining Arcturian ships abruptly turned away, accelerating to escape velocity. "They're retreating," Harris announced, disbelief in his voice. A cheer went up across the bridge, quickly silenced by Mason's raised hand. "This was just the beginning," he said soberly. "They'll be back with more ships. But now they know, humans won't surrender without a fight." As the Earth vessels regrouped, Mason stared at the retreating alien signatures on the display. The first battle had been won, but the war for humanity's survival had just begun. The laboratory deep within Earth's lunar base Alpha buzzed with activity. Dr. Alan Carter hunched over a twisted piece of Arcturian hull material, his eyes bloodshot from days of minimal sleep. Around him, Engineers and scientists worked frantically, reverse engineering debris collected from the Jupiter battle. "Look at this," Alan said, waving over his assistant. "The molecular structure changes when exposed to our phase disruptors. It's like it's trying to adapt, but failing." Admiral Peterson strode into the lab, accompanied by a team of military officials. "Please tell me you have something, Doctor. Our scouts report the Arcturians are massing a fleet 3 times larger than what we faced at Jupiter." Alan straightened, rubbing his tired eyes. "We do, Admiral. Their shield technology relies on resonance harmonics. Essentially, they create a bubble that vibrates at frequencies that deflect most conventional weapons." He moved to a simulation display, bringing up a model of an Arcturian shield. "But there's a fundamental weakness. Their shields can't simultaneously protect against weapons operating at both ends of the energy spectrum." "In plain English, Doctor," Peterson said, "if we hit them with extreme cold followed immediately by extreme heat, we create a catastrophic failure in their shield matrix." Alan's eyes gleamed with excitement. "It's like hitting a crystal glass with just the right frequency to shatter it." Peterson's expression hardened. "Can we modify our existing weapons?" "Better than that," Alan replied, leading the group to another section of the lab. He pulled a tarp off a massive prototype weapon. "This is what we're calling the harmonic disruptor cannon. It delivers a 1-2 punch their shields can't handle." Peterson nodded approvingly. "How soon can we begin production?" "The prototype is ready for testing. With emergency protocols, we could outfit the new Invincible-class warship within 2 weeks." Across the lunar base, in the massive construction bay, Commander Susan Riley floated in zero gravity, inspecting the nearly completed UES Invincible. At 1.5 times the size of the Dauntless, it represented humanity's most advanced warship. "How are the engine modifications coming?" she asked Chief Engineer Paul Wilson, who hovered near the massive propulsion units. "We've increased thrust capacity by 40% over initial specifications," Wilson replied proudly. "This ship will move like nothing we've ever built." Susan ran her hand along a bulkhead. After her distinguished service aboard the UES Guardian during the Jupiter battle, she had been fast-tracked to command this new vessel. The responsibility weighed heavily on her shoulders. "The weapons mounts need to be reinforced if they're going to handle Dr. Carter's new toys," Wilson added. "Make it happen," Susan said firmly. "Whatever resources you need." Her comm unit buzzed. "Commander Riley, report to command immediately." Minutes later, Susan stood before a holographic display showing the outer solar system. Admiral Peterson gestured to numerous red dots approaching from multiple vectors. "The Arcturians aren't waiting," he said grimly. "Long-range sensors detect at least 30 warships. They've learned from their defeat and are approaching in a dispersed formation." Susan studied the tactical display. "When do we expect them to reach defensive positions?" 4 days, Peterson replied. "The Invincible will barely be ready." "It will be ready," Susan stated with conviction. Dr. Carter's new weapon. "Being installed as we speak, you'll have exactly 1 day for your crew to familiarize themselves with it." Susan nodded, already formulating strategies. "Has Captain Mason been briefed?" "He'll coordinate with you from the Dauntless. Between his experience and your new technology, it's our best hope." Peterson's face showed rare emotion. "The Arcturians don't know it yet, but they're about to learn what happens when you back humans into a corner." As Susan left to prepare her ship and crew, warning signals were already being broadcast throughout the solar system. Earth's greatest challenge approached, and its survival would depend on human ingenuity, courage, and a warship unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. The command center of Earth Defense Headquarters buzzed with tense activity. Holographic displays showed the approaching Arcturian armada, 37 warships arranged in a 3-dimensional attack formation that would envelop Earth's defenses from multiple vectors. Admiral Peterson stood at the central table, surrounded by his senior officers. "Their numbers are exactly as we feared, 3 to 1 against our combined fleet." Commander Susan Riley studied the display intently. The UES Invincible had completed its emergency outfitting just hours earlier. Admiral, I've been analyzing their approach pattern. They've learned from the Jupiter engagement. They're keeping their ships close enough for mutual support, but spread enough to prevent concentrated fire. A sound strategy, Captain Mason acknowledged from the other side of the table. The Dauntless, repaired after the previous battle, would serve as the fleet's secondary command vessel. Conventional tactics won't work this time. Susan pointed to Jupiter's position. What if we don't use conventional tactics? The Invincible's new engines give us capabilities they can't anticipate. She manipulated the display, showing a bold trajectory that curved around Jupiter's massive gravity well. If we position the Invincible here and use Jupiter's gravity as a slingshot, we can achieve velocities that would tear apart any other ship. We'd hit their formation from behind at speeds their targeting computers couldn't track. A murmur went through the assembled officers. Admiral Peterson frowned. That's incredibly risky. The G-forces alone would be at the edge of what your crew could withstand. The Invincible was built to handle it, Susan replied confidently. And we've modified the inertial dampeners specifically for this maneuver. Captain Mason studied the projection. It could work. While Commander Riley's ship disrupts their rear, the Dauntless and the main fleet could engage their front line. They'd be caught between hammer and anvil. Peterson considered for a long moment, then nodded sharply. Make the preparations. The Invincible will depart immediately to get into position. Captain Mason, you'll command our defensive line. He looked around the room gravely. This is humanity's moment of truth. We've begun evacuating the orbital colonies, but if we fail here, Earth itself will be next. As the meeting adjourned, Susan approached Mason. Any advice? She asked quietly. The veteran captain gave her a measured look. Trust your instincts and your crew. The Arcturians are technologically advanced, but they've never faced extinction. We have that edge, the desperate courage of a species fighting for survival. 20 hours later, the UES Invincible approached its designated position near Jupiter. The massive gas giant filled the view screen, its swirling storms a backdrop to humanity's daring gambit. Final systems check, Susan ordered from the command chair. Her crew, the best Earth had to offer, worked with quiet efficiency. Harmonic disruptor cannon at full capacity, reported Weapons Officer Greg Daniels. Inertial dampeners modified and locked in, added Lieutenant Lisa Reeves from the helm. Chief Engineer Wilson's voice came over the comm. Engines ready for maximum burn. We've pushed them beyond specs, Commander. They'll hold. Susan opened a channel to the entire ship. This is Commander Riley. In 6 hours, the Arcturian fleet will engage our defensive line. Earth's survival depends on what we do next. The maneuver we're about to attempt has never been tried before. We'll be pushing this ship and ourselves to the absolute limit. She paused, looking around at her determined crew. But remember this. No alien ship could match a human warship. Not in technology, not in firepower, and certainly not in the courage of its crew. Prepare for slingshot maneuver. As the Invincible began its calculated descent into Jupiter's gravity well, Susan felt a strange calm. Across millions of kilometers, the main Earth fleet formed its defensive line. Civilian ships fled to safety, and the people of Earth looked to the stars with fear and hope. The coming storm would decide humanity's fate. The first Arcturian energy beams cut through space, striking the outer defensive line of Earth's fleet. The UES Sentinel erupted in a ball of flame, the first casualty in what promised to be a devastating battle. Evasive pattern Delta. Captain Mason ordered aboard the Dauntless. Don't let them predict your movements. Earth's 12 remaining warships scattered, their formation breaking apart as the Arcturian armada pressed forward. The vastly superior alien numbers allowed them to target multiple human vessels simultaneously. Sir, the UES Guardian has taken critical damage, Lieutenant Wright reported, her voice tight with strain. 2 more Arcturian ships are breaking through to target the orbital platforms. Mason gripped his command chair as the Dauntless shook violently from a direct hit. Divert all available power to forward shields. We need to protect those platforms. There are still civilians aboard. The Dauntless moved to intercept, firing its conventional weapons in rapid succession. The shots glanced off the Arcturian shields, barely slowing their advance. "Where is the Invincible?" Mason muttered, checking the tactical display. No sign of Commander Riley's ship yet. They had to hold on. Aboard the Orbital Defense Platform Alpha, Civilian Evacuation Coordinator Frank Rogers herded the last group of refugees toward the escape shuttles. The structure trembled as Arcturian weapons fire impacted nearby. "Stay calm. Move quickly," he shouted above the wailing alarms. A young woman stumbled, and he caught her arm. "We're almost there." Through the viewport, he could see the desperate battle raging. Earth's fleet was fighting valiantly, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Several human ships were already drifting, disabled or destroyed. On the bridge of the Arcturian flagship, High Commander Vexer watched with satisfaction. "The humans fight well for primitives," he observed to his second-in-command. "But the outcome is inevitable." "High Commander," an officer called out. "Our rear sensors detect an anomaly approaching from the direction of the gas giant." Vexer turned, irritated by the interruption. "What anomaly?" Before his question could be answered, alarms blared across the Arcturian command deck. A human vessel had appeared seemingly from nowhere, moving at velocities that defied belief. Aboard the UES Invincible, Commander Susan Riley fought to remain conscious as the ship completed its Jupiter slingshot maneuver. The inertial dampeners whined in protest as they struggled to compensate for forces that would have torn any lesser vessel apart. "Target locked," Weapons Officer Daniels announced, his voice strained from the G-forces. "Harmonic disruptor at full charge." "Fire," Susan ordered. The revolutionary weapon discharged, sending a precisely calibrated energy wave that struck the rearmost Arcturian vessel. For a brief moment, nothing happened. Then the alien ship's shields collapsed catastrophically, followed by its hull buckling inward as if crushed by an invisible hand. "Secondary targets locked," Daniels reported with growing confidence. "Firing solution ready." The Invincible tore through the Arcturian formation like a predator among prey, its weapons finding weaknesses the aliens never knew they had. 3 more ships fell before they could even react to this unexpected threat. "All Earth vessels, this is Commander Riley. Target these coordinates with everything you have." Captain Mason saw the opening immediately. "This is it. All ships, concentrate fire on the designated targets." The Dauntless led what remained of Earth's fleet in a coordinated attack, focusing their weapons on the ships already weakened by the Invincible's disruptor. The Arcturian formation began to crumble as ships exploded or veered off course. High Commander Vexer watched in disbelief as his carefully planned attack disintegrated. "Impossible," he whispered as the human warships, now fighting with renewed vigor, cut through his once superior fleet. The tide had turned. What had seemed like certain victory for the Arcturians had become a desperate fight for survival. And at the center of it all, the UES Invincible, humanity's greatest achievement, proved once and for all that no alien ship could match a human warship. The Arcturian flagship listed helplessly in space, its engines disabled and weapons systems offline. Around it, the debris of what had once been a mighty invasion fleet drifted silently. Of the 37 alien warships that had entered Earth's space, only 8 remained, all damaged and surrendering. On the bridge of the UES Invincible, Commander Susan Riley studied the crippled alien command vessel on her view screen. "All primary systems on the flagship are disabled," reported Lieutenant Reeves. "Their shields are completely down." Susan nodded. "Prepare a boarding party. I want to see these Arcturians face to face." "Commander," Chief Engineer Wilson interjected, "scans indicate their life support is failing. They have maybe 2 hours before critical systems collapse." "Then we don't have much time," Susan replied, rising from her command chair. "Lieutenant Daniels, you have the bridge." Captain Mason, do you read me? The captain's tired but triumphant face appeared on the screen. Loud and clear, Commander. That was some flying. The fight's not over yet. I'm leading a boarding party to the Arcturian flagship. Request backup if you can spare it. Already on our way, Mason confirmed. Meet you at their main airlock. 30 minutes later, Susan led a team of Earth's finest soldiers through the eerily silent corridors of the alien vessel. The interior was bathed in a strange bluish light, and the architecture featured sweeping, organic curves unlike human designs. They encountered little resistance. Most of the Arcturian crew they passed were injured or focused on keeping their ship from complete systems failure. Finally, they reached the command deck where Captain Mason's team joined them. High Commander Vexer sat in his control chair, silver skin dulled with fatigue. The alien's multifaceted eyes widened slightly as the humans entered. You fight unexpectedly well, Vexer said through his translation device. We fight for our home, Susan replied simply. Something you should have considered before invading. Vexer made a gesture that might have been resignation. The Confederation needed your resources. We had no choice. There's always a choice, Mason countered. Now your ships are destroyed or captured, and your crew is at our mercy. One of the alien officers suddenly lurched forward, activating a wall panel. Susan's team raised their weapons, but instead of an attack, a holographic display appeared, showing a region of space far from Earth. You misunderstand our urgency, Vexer said, his voice growing weaker. This is why we needed your system. The Devourer comes. The hologram showed another alien fleet, far larger and more menacing than the Arcturian forces. These ships were black, asymmetrical, almost organic in appearance. The Caraxians, explained Vexer. They consume worlds, strip them of all resources. They destroyed our home system. We flee before them, seeking new territories to fortify. Mason and Susan exchanged glances. Why didn't you simply explain this? Ask for an alliance, Mason demanded. The Confederation does not ally with lesser species, Vexer replied, though his tone suggested uncertainty. It has always been our way. But now, he gestured to the defeated state of his ship. Perhaps our way was wrong. Susan studied the hologram of the approaching threat. How long before these Exaraxians reach our sector? 3 of your Earth years, perhaps less. The medical team that had accompanied the boarding party moved to treat injured Arcturians. Susan approached Vexer directly. Today you learned that humans don't surrender easily, and our warships are more than a match for yours. Here's what happens next. We help you repair your remaining vessels, and you share everything you know about these Ataraxians. Vexer's eyes shifted in what might have been surprise. You would help us after we attacked you. We're defending our home, Mason said. If that means fighting alongside former enemies against a greater threat, that's what we'll do. As medics worked to stabilize the alien ship's life support, Susan looked out a viewport toward Earth, shining blue in the distance. Humanity had faced extinction and emerged victorious. Now they would prepare for an even greater challenge, not just as defenders of Earth, but as protectors of their corner of the galaxy. The first step would be building more warships, because as the Arcturians had learned to their cost, no alien ship could match a human warship, especially when humanity's survival was at stake.